Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. And I promise you guys I'm going to not ramble on as much as I did. For those of you who watched my last video, it kind of ran on a little bit, so I have a tendency to let myself just get carried away and not keep the message shorter the way I know I should. So I'm going to try to keep this message shorter this week. And as I was seeking the Lord for the message for this video, he led me to, and it's 2 Chronicles chapter 32. And I have done a message on this particular chapter and book and chapter. And it's in another video, and that video is titled A Word of Encouragement. So if you want to go back and look at that one. But as I was seeking the Lord, he led me back to the exact same book and the exact same chapter. So at first I was a little confused. I was thinking I already covered this material. But as I was reading, I realized that I did not cover the entire chapter of 32. I pretty much focused on the first part of it. And as I was reading the remainder of the verse, this particular verse jumped out at me. So I'm going to read it for you. So it's going to be 2 Chronicles chapter 32. And it's going to be verse 24 through 26. So what it says, in those days Hezekiah was sick to the death, and prayed unto the Lord, and he spake unto him, and he gave him a sign. But Hezekiah rendered not again according to the benefit done unto him, for his heart was lifted up, therefore was there wrath upon him, and upon Judah and Jerusalem. Notwithstanding, Hezekiah humbled himself for the pride of his heart, both he and the inhabitants of Jerusalem, so that the wrath of the Lord came not upon them in the days of Hezekiah. So as I was reading this, that verse really jumped out at me. So Hezekiah was the king of Judah, and at this particular point in this book, and he had a terminal illness. The Lord pretty much told him he had the Lord told him that he was going to die, to get his affairs in order. So he prayed and cried out to the Lord and asked him to give him more time, basically. He reminded him that he was a good king. He had done what was right in the sight of the Lord. So the Lord honored that request. He also asked for a sign, and the Lord gave him a sign. And because of that, his heart was lifted up. And as verse 26 clarifies, it wasn't a heart lifted up with joy. It was a heart that had become infected with pride. So he was prideful. And he was prideful because of the Lord's response to him. He got such a miraculous response to his prayer that he became prideful. So I realized that that was the message for this week's video. And again, like I said, I'm going to try to keep this shorter. So this week's video is on pride. And so his heart was lifted up and had pride in it. So essentially at that point, he was in opposition to God, because God detests pride. And so essentially pride is the epitome of selfishness. It is where you exalt yourself over all others, including God, thinking that you are better than others in one or many ways, and treating others as lesser than you. To allow the sin of pride into your heart, as I touched on a moment ago, is to set yourself in opposition to God. James chapter 4 verse 6 says, but he giveth more grace. Wherefore he saith, God resisteth the proud, but giveth grace unto the humble. And Proverbs 16:18 says, pride goeth before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall. And you wouldn't think it, but the root of pride is most often insecurity. It is a person who is looking to the world and to other people to validate their worth. It's a person who doesn't know their worth according to God and how God sees them. They are looking to get approval from other people, and they will do anything to get it. Some of the ways that pride can manifest in your life, one way is fear. If you're fearful, that shows a lack of faith in God, and it reveals our independence and reliance on self and our need for control. And when I was preparing this message, that first one really opened my eyes, because I've always considered myself to be a very independent woman. And I always thought it was a good thing to not need anyone's help. Oh no, I can do it on my own. I will do everything in my power. Whatever it is, I try to not ask anyone for help. I always want to try to be independent. I can take care of things. I don't need you. I don't need anyone. I've got this. And I've always considered myself, and I've called myself this many times, a control freak, because I want things to go the way I want them to go. And I'm not going to ask anyone else to do anything, because they're not going to do it the way I want it done anyway. I'll just have to go back and do it over again. So I've always considered myself very independent, very much a controlling person. And I always thought, at least I thought the independence part was a good thing. Now I see it's not a good thing, because God wants us to rely on Him, not ourselves, not our family, not our friends, but Him. And so another way it can manifest is entitlement, is where you think you are better than you are and you deserve better than you have. So how many times have we at one time or another felt this in our lives? For sure, I know I have. Another way it manifests is ungratefulness. We should get what we want, but if we don't, we feel justified in getting angry and frustrated. Big one too. Yes, I can really relate. The next one, yes, I tell you, this is an area that I struggle with, and it's people pleasing. It's where you are seeking man's approval more than God's approval, and you are so afraid to say no to people that ask you for whatever. It's asking you for your time, it's asking you for money, it's asking you for whatever. And you have a hard time saying no because, you don't want to disappoint people, you don't want to hurt them. You are so worried how they are going to perceive it if you say no to them. I'm sorry, I can't do it. I don't have the time. I can't do it for you this week. My commitments, I'm already full on commitments. Or I can't loan you $50. I'm sorry, I need to put gas in my car. Whatever the situation is, you are so afraid of that person's reaction to you saying no more than what God says. And that's an area that I struggle with. Another one is prayerlessness, where we don't spend time in prayer with God. We don't spend time reading His Word. We can do it on our own without God's help. And then another way it manifests as well is hypocrisy. Thinking you're better than everyone else, and you easily find fault with others. Yes, I've been there. And another one, rebellion. It's a resistance and a lack of submission, thinking you know better than God. And how many times have in your life. And, and I say this knowing that I've done the same thing. How many times in your life have you made plans for your life? Whatever it is, something small, something big, you have made plans without consulting God. You go out, you make your plans. This is what I feel is the best for me right now in this situation, and this is what I'm going to do, and you don't consult God or ask him. And then when things go bad, go wrong, then you want to get angry at God, like, well, God, why did you let this happen? And why? This didn't have to happen. Well, it wouldn't have happened if we'd have consulted God and asked him his thoughts on the matter, for him to tell us what he wants for our lives versus what we think we want, what we think we deserve, what we think is best. God knows us better than we know ourselves. We should be seeking his plan for our lives and submit ourselves to his plan for our lives versus moving ahead with our own plans and then asking God to bless it when he hasn't even been in it from the very beginning. So those are just some of the ways that pride can manifest. There are a few others, but I just wanted to keep this shorter today. Just something to think about. And one of the best ways to get pride out of your heart, out of your life, is acknowledging that it's there in the first place. A lot of times these symptoms I've given you can be very hard to spot unless a brother and sister in Christ points it out to you, or the Lord points it out to you. You can be blind, and I know I have myself. You can be blind to these symptoms of pride, and it can creep in slowly over time like weeds in a garden. And so we need to be continually guarding our heart and pulling those weeds out of our heart before they take root and take over, which is what pride can do. So as I mentioned, the first step is becoming aware that there's actually pride in your heart, and then confessing to God that you need help in changing your heart. The second step is to begin to practice humility, the denial of self. And this is a quote that I found and that I think speaks volumes. And it's a quote by Pastor Rick Warren. And I saw this online, and he says, humility is not thinking less of yourself, it's thinking of yourself less. I was like, wow, that's profound. He goes on to say, humility is thinking more of others. And our focus needs to be on Jesus instead of self, because without him, we are nothing. In fact, in Luke chapter 9, verses 23 through 26, Jesus says this, and he said to them all, if any man will come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. For whosoever will save his life shall lose it. But whosoever will lose his life for my sake, the same shall save it. For what is a man advantaged if he gains the whole world and lose himself, or be cast away? For whosoever shall be ashamed of me and my words, of him shall the Son of Man be ashamed, when he shall come in his own glory and in his Father's and of the holy angels. Jesus is coming back soon. Will you be ready? I pray that I'm ready. In fact, I pray this next prayer often for myself and for my children. And this comes from Luke 21:36. Watch ye therefore and pray always, that ye may be accounted worthy to escape all these things that shall come to pass, and to stand before the Son of Man. In these last days, and we are in the last days, without a doubt, it's more important than ever to stay in the Word and to stay in prayer and to not put our faith and trust in ourselves or others, but only in Jesus, because only Jesus can save. So in closing, I just wanted to stress again, it's important to continually guard our hearts for any weeds such as pride that may crop up. I liken this to pulling weeds out of your garden, pulling weeds out of a flower bed. If you're not diligent, if you turn your back for, I know, and I've been there, you turn your back for a few days or a week and you come back and you have, seems like 5 times more weeds than you had when you had everything cleared out. It's important to weed often. Pray daily, stay in the Word daily, and allow the Lord to reveal to you what is in your heart that needs to be removed, so that your heart may be tender and soft and in submission to Him. So thank you for watching, and until the next time, and until the next video, I pray that God will bless you and God will keep you. Thank you.